Getting them right, gonna have a brand new show tonight with glitz and glam on the marquee. Perhaps the Tony nominee. Stars beam brightly, see them glow. Sell out nightly, SRO. It's time to applaud the Broadway Beat. Stars beam brightly, see them glow in the sunlight of a show. Life is sweet on the world's most famous street.
Tickets, please.
Take a seat.
Cue the band.
And have your feet to the rhythm of the Broadway Beat. The Broadway Beat. Broadway Beat.
Hello, I'm Richard Ridge, and welcome to Broadway Beat, our weekly half-hour behind-the-scenes look at the very best of the New York theater on Broadway and beyond. This week we have a great show in store for you. We'll drop by the opening night celebration for the Times They Are A-Changin, which is Tony Award winner Twyla Tharp's new musical at the Brooks Atkinson Theater based on the songs of Bob Dylan. We'll also chat with legend Julie Andrews and her daughter Emma Walton Hamilton, who are the ambassadors for the 11th annual Kids Night on Broadway, which will take place on January 30th and 31st, 2007. But let's start things off by giving you a sneak peek at the Broadway-bound new musical Spring Awakening, which after a sold-out run at Off-Broadway's Atlantic Theater will open on Sunday evening, December 10th at the Eugene O'Neill Theater. Spring Awakening features music by Duncan Sheik, a book and lyrics by Stephen Sater, choreography by Bill T. Jones, and direction by Michael Mayer. Spring Awakening is based on Frank Wedekind's 1891 expressionist play about teenage angst, sex, violence, and suicide. This coming-of-age musical tells the story of kids trying to break loose and adults trying to hold on.
God, I dreamed there was an angel who could hear me through the wall as I cried out like in Latin, this is so not life at all. Help me out of this nightmare. Then I heard her silver call. She said, just give it time, kid, I come to one and all. She said, give me that hand, please, if you can't control. Let me teach you how to handle all the sadness in your soul. Oh, we'll work that silver magic, then we'll aim it at the wall. She said, love may make you blind, kid, but I wouldn't mind at all. It's a bitch of living, bitch, just the bitch. Nothing but your hand, just the bitch, yeah, just the bitch of living. Someone you can't stand. See, tonight it's like fantastic, tossing, turning without rest. There's my days at the piano with my teacher and her breasts, and the music's like the one thing I can even get it all. And those breasts on me, God, please just let those apples fall. It's a bitch of living, with nothing going on.
I always loved the play. Ever since I was in college, I just thought it was an amazing piece of writing. And when Stephen called me and suggested doing a musical of it, I found myself not only intrigued, but desperate to do it. It was one of those calls that you get, and you're like, hello, oh, hi, Stephen, I haven't talked to you in so long. How are you? What are you up to? And he said, I have this crazy idea. I think that it might turn you on. He said, do you know Duncan Sheik? And I said, yeah, I love his songs. He said, well, we're working together, and I have an idea of doing Spring Awakening. And I was like, yeah? He says, as a play with songs. And I said, I'm in. When can we talk about it? So, like days later, we all got together and started talking about what it might be. Nothing was written yet at all. And we were thinking about how you might be able to update it or set it in a different time period. And finally, we realized that the story itself is so firmly rooted in a 19th century experience of the world, but that what's completely universal and unchanging in all of humanity is whatever our emotional life is, right? So if the songs became an expression of the internal life of the characters, and it could pull them out of their 19th century repressive society and plant them firmly in a future that we recognize, then we could have our cake and eat it too. And I got really excited by that. And the thing that got me was I had this one image of the boys in their breeches and their stockings and their little shoes and their tight little jackets and their 19th century weird haircuts and playing the scenes very honestly and truthfully, and then yanking out microphones and wailing these rock ballads. And I thought, okay, if we could pull that off, then how cool would that be? So that was really the impetus for it.
Well, initially when we used to do the show, I would kind of insist that I played guitar in the show, right? And Michael, rightly, he's like, he kicked me out of the band, basically. And so now I have to say, like, I don't like being in the pit. I actually like sitting in the audience and watching the show. Like, I'm just, it's really moving to me, and I'm so proud of them. And it's just so, every time I watch it, I kind of well up in a way, and so it makes it all worth it.
What amazed me about, even though it takes place in the 1800s, and then you've sort of contemporized it to now, times haven't changed for angst or what parents are putting kids through, what society are putting teenagers through, and that was scary.
Yeah. Look, I think that if parents and teachers and clergy, they don't communicate with adolescents in a meaningful way about their bodies and about their emotional selves and their spiritual selves, then it can have tragic consequences. That was true then. It's definitely true now. And I think like my mom went to the show and she said, she said, I think it's important that kids and their parents go to this show together, because there's the scene where the father yells at his son about flunking out of school, and she says that kind of stuff happens all the time and it's just wrong. And so I said, yes, you're right. That's exactly, one of the big reasons why we're doing it.
It seems that pop music is the place that kids have found release from this anguish, that these kids and the past generations have found release from this kind of anguish that Wiedekind's kids were looking for a century ago. So it seemed like an apt match. That was really the beginning of the show. And Duncan said one of the first things he said to me was that he didn't like, in musicals, when people were talking and then singing and then talking, it seemed arbitrary. And my first thought was that the songs could function as internal monologues. And then when we began working with Michael, we had this idea, working it out of doing this time jump, from the contemporary and it's to work on it as a millennial piece. We also began working on this in the wake of the shootings at Columbine. So it seemed very timely in that way, too, of what, that's what this play is about society trying to turn away from those cries and not listen to what kids have to say.
See us winter walking after a storm. It's chill in the wind, but it's warm in your arms. We stop on snow line. May not be true. We've all got our junk, and my junk is you. I think that the audience reaction to Spring Awakening at the Atlantic, we were really unsure about how it was going to be received, but thankfully it was amazing. Teenagers and, theater goers and even people who really don't generally see theater all the time enjoyed it so much. It was, so well received by so many different groups of people and so many different ages. And there were people who thought that they were going to, maybe be offended or maybe not like it, who absolutely loved it. So I think that, we're going to, it's going to be interesting when we move uptown.
I play Moritz Stiefel in Spring Awakening, and he is a young kid who is having a really hard time with his grades, with his scholastics. He's trying his best to, meet the standards that are expected of him from both his parents and from his teachers at school. And he's that kind of that quiet kid that everyone knew in school that, maybe was having a little extra bit of a tough time than everyone else was with growing up, with all these changes that are happening to him. It's bad enough trying to figure out what's happening to your body when you're that age, and then the extra pressure of having to deal with all these things that are desired and expected of you, the need to succeed, is when you put the two of those together, it can just make someone mad, and in this case I think it certainly goes to his head a little bit.
After doing 24, I played that kind of like greasy character. In a funny way, I had to leave New York to get offered that kind of role, and this play allows me to do a lot of those kinds of roles and these kind of jewel-like characters, each in a separate, different kind of quality of like, oh God, what is the word? Of like greasiness. So the the way they keep their thumbs down on these kids and hold them and constrain them. I mean, some of them with very, very good intentions, so it affords me a lot of opportunity to play a lot of different kinds of roles in that way.
I think what's great about you and Stephen, you play all the adult roles, so I think that would be an actor's dream.
It is. It absolutely is, because I get to play roles that I don't get to play on television. That we get to do transformations. It's so funny because when I read it, I thought, oh, great, a lot of different wigs. And then Tom called me and he said, no, you'll be wearing exactly the same thing and only one, and just do it with your body. And I thought, oh boy, this is a real thing. This is back to the real thing.
With stallions that they made for their born, all shall know the wonder. I will sing the song of purple summer. All shall know the wonder. I will sing the song of purple summer. All shall know the wonder of purple summer.
Kids Night on Broadway has become one of the most popular theater events of the season. It's when a child between the ages of 6 and 18 can see a Broadway show for free when accompanied by a full-paying adult. This year marks the 11th annual Kids Night, which will take place on January 30th and 31st, 2007. We recently dropped by Sardi's for the kickoff, led by this year's ambassadors, legendary film and stage star Julie Andrews and her daughter Emma Walton Hamilton. For more information, log on to www.kidsnightonbroadway.com.
Good afternoon, everybody. It's really a great pleasure for Emma and me to be hosting and to be the national ambassadors for Kids Night on Broadway. Now, as Charlotte just said, we just happened to write our book, The Great American Musical, because we are both so passionate about the theater and about giving kids every opportunity to discover its enchantment.
Actually, the leading lady mouse in our book, Adelaide, speaks for Mom and me when she describes, quote, the intangible magic of the theater, the giving, the receiving, the intimate communion between artist and audience. And there is no better way to ensure a lifelong passion for the theater than to introduce our children to its magic as early as possible.
As Charlotte told you, my parents were performers. They were in Vaudeville Music Hall, and I was lucky enough to start attending as well as performing in theater at a very young age. I know it shaped me, it shaped my value system, my passions, and perhaps my sense of humor more than anything else.
Mom and Dad then passed that tradition on to me, and I too was fortunate to attend theater, and Broadway especially, often from a very early age. And after every new Broadway show, my stepsister and I would rush out to buy the original cast album and perform every number we could, lip-syncing in full makeup and makeshift costumes for every poor friend or family member who happened to be passing by. And I'm sure that it was some of those early enthusiastic discoveries that made it possible for me to be part of creating Bay Street Theater and leading its programs for young audiences.
I'm often asked what value live theater continues to have in this digital age. And I believe it is more important now than ever. In our media and electronically driven world, I think our children run the risk of becoming very isolated. And I do worry that we are kind of spoon-feeding our children and our young people such a steady diet of manufactured slices of life that all they have to do is sort of receive rather than participate. And theater requires us to connect, to engage our imaginations, to suspend our disbelief, to open our minds to new ideas. And above all, it invites us to unite, to be fully present with other live human beings.
I think it's important for kids to learn theater because it's important for them. The first show I ever did was Beauties on the Beach when I was 18 months old because my mom, she did some drama theater stuff. She taught a drama thing, and she would direct shows, write and direct and produce some shows, and Beauties on the Beach was my first one.
And you knew right then and there this is what you wanted to do?
Yes, I think it's very, very important because it's really just letting the world know that kids can be on Broadway, maybe no matter what age they are, or they can be on Broadway, it doesn't matter what.
Yeah, like she said, like no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, no matter what color you are, you can still succeed just like us, and you can still make it no matter what you want to be. So
it exposes children to the wonders and the magic of theater and the passion of it and the live quality of it. They can engage, they can participate. I think in an age of sound bites and electronic gadgetry and all the things that go on with kids, there's a danger that they can get a little depersonalized with some of the games they play, some of the television they watch, not all of it, but some of it. And at least theater brings you out and makes you really passionate about something. And it's a mirror. It tells you who we are, where we've been, where we might be going.
The challenge, of course, is that theater is often prohibitive for many families these days. The ticket prices are so high, and the wonderful thing that the League is doing with Kids Night on Broadway is making theater accessible to kids of all ages.
Because on that particular night, the tickets are free. The parents can come in and pay full price, but the children come in free, and all the local restaurants are making discounts, and there are parking discounts. It's going to be a great night. 2 nights, the 30th and 31st of January next year.
Because there's so much family shows this season on Broadway. There always is, but this season in general.
Yes.
Amazing.
No,
yes.
But it also, it gives children that normally won't have a chance to get to the theater a chance to come and see it for themselves and maybe breed a whole new audience. So it's not just a compassionate and smart thing to do. It's very wise also,
Renowned director-choreographer Twyla Tharp took Broadway by storm and the Tony with her groundbreaking dance musical Movin' Out, which featured the songs of Billy Joel. Well, now she's back on Broadway at the Brooks Atkinson Theater with her latest, The Times They Are A-Changin, featuring the songbook of Bob Dylan. We caught up with Miss Tharp and her cast led by Michael Arden at their opening night celebration.
May your hands always be with me.
May your feet always be safe.
May you have a hope and sing songs when the winds of change are shift.
May your heart always be joyful.
May your soul always be strong.
Stay forever young. May you stay forever young.
I was asked to do it. They were obviously important material in American history, and it seemed to me that there was a relevance that would make a lot of sense now.
Because you're a brilliant storyteller through directing and choreography, and I think this would be a beautiful piece for you to work on.
Thank you.
Why do you think his music is so relevant now?
Masters of War back-to-back with Blowin' in the Wind.
Yeah. When I saw this, a little bit of Fellini, I thought, was that an influence for you when you were working on this?
I love Fellini. Fellini is a great filmmaker. 8 1/2 has always been one of my favorite pictures, and La Strada was very important for this show.
And there was another piece of yours from 1989, I think, that there was a lot of flavor of that in this show.
Bums Rush.
Yep. Did that influence you with this piece also? Because I saw some of that flavor in this.
Well, Bums Rush, there was even an earlier one.
Yeah.
8 Jolly Rolls.
Yeah.
Come on. Bottom line, I'm a clown, okay? So there you are.
And how did the concept come up of setting it in a circus? I thought, what a beautiful idea.
There is a lot of reference to circuses in the Dylan lyrics, and it seemed as though also to dreams, and circuses and dreams are very similar places where anything can happen. So it seemed that would be a good home base.
But I want to talk to you a little bit about, you talk about Michael Arden, your wonderful star who sings so much of his beautiful score. What attracted you to him early on and working with him?
Michael obviously has a phenomenal voice, and he also has a very large dose of purity and simplicity to his work, which is a good contrast for the son if he's got a dad like Captain Arab, Tom Sesma.
I think some nights it elicits an incredible reaction and people are absorbed from beginning to end, and some nights it's not like that. So we'll, as performers and as directors and as musicians, we'll find, how to get a unanimous vote every time we go.
That's the magic of live theater.
Yes, and it's what keeps it interesting and challenging besides the steps and the words and all that, yeah.
Well, what's great about Twyla Tharp is she lets us sort of create these characters on our own and really gives us liberties to try things, and she'll tell us if we're getting off track. And so I sort of feel like with her direction and developing the characters with the relationships rather with the characters so that Tom and Michael Arden play, she's been sort of within me and coming out. She's definitely from the other side of the tracks, the wrong side of the tracks, and she's been beat up and been through it, and this is sort of a safe haven for her that's not really quite safe, and she just wants it to be. She has a relationship with Arab, the guy who runs the circus, and then eventually falls in love with the son. So she's multidimensional, and as Twyla said, a little bit on the trashy side, which is great fun for me because I'm always in a corset and wigs, and period pieces. So it's been fun to do something a little different.
I believe in you, even through the tears and the laughter. I believe in you, even though we be apart. I believe in you, even on the morning after. Oh, when the dawn is nearing, oh, when the night is disappearing, oh, this feeling still here in my heart.
Everybody knows that baby's got new clothes, but lately I see her ribbons and her bows have fallen from her curls. She takes just like a woman. Yes, she does. She makes love just like a woman.
The role that I've created together, Captain Arab. A lot of people describe him as a villain. I just think he's misunderstood. I don't like to get too specific about it because it sort of lets the secret out, lets the magic out. But for me, it is very, very specific. I've got a backstory that gets deeper every time I do this play, and Twyla is remarkable because for such an on-hands person, I think she's known as a control freak. It's not really true. She really knows when to get out of the way. She also knows when to get in your way in a very, very artful and supportive way. Just, again, remarkable is the key word here.
Talk about these wonderful songs you get to sing.
Oh man, that's just, it's not just the cake, it's the icing too. It's, saying it's a dream come true is, it doesn't even approach it. It's Bob Dylan. It's Bob Dylan and Twyla Tharp. I mean, these are two people in the pantheon of great creative artists in the last 200 years. It's very special.
Unlike anything I've ever done, it's such a new process, and the way she works from the body and just exploring exploring every possible corner of what theater can be. And so, in a way, she's inventing a new form of theater that's never been. And so that's been really interesting to just give myself over to that, and sometimes not ask so many questions and just dive in. So that's been the most exciting part of it for me as an actor.
And talk about the role that you play.
I play Coyote, who is the son of the circus master Captain Arab, and he is a young boy who is sort of raging against the machine of his father, and he wants a better life for everyone in the circus as well as himself, and whether that means getting away or staying but making change, he has to invoke a change in the world and in the circus, and then ultimately take over and lead in a new and positive way that doesn't include war, it doesn't include violence.
And what did you learn about the show? Very, very few shows have the opportunity of taking them on the road, and you had San Diego. What did you learn about the show in San Diego?
I learned a lot about the show. We tweaked constantly. We rehearsed every day after we opened in San Diego until the night before the closing. And then Twyla and I went into another sort of workshop period for a number of weeks. It's Twyla's vision, and my job is to be responsible for the musical end of her vision. And that's what the thing that I learned most is what she was reacting to and what she wasn't responding to. So that was the most important thing about San Diego, even more so than the audience. What was making her happy about it more than...
Talk about the best part of the collaboration of working with Twyla Tharp is what?
Oh my Lord. It's evolutionary, and it's in constant flux, which I love. She'll try something and put it up there to see if it might work, and even if it doesn't work, she'll say, well, at least we tried that, and we know. And she works in a non-linear fashion as well, which is something I adore. I mean, I work with Jerome Robbins and Agnes DeMille and all of the great structuralists, and she's much more of a free spirit than that, and she doesn't know all the rules, so it's fun to see somebody break the rules that I know, and I don't impose my sense on her. I try to respond to what she wants and just give it to her.
The answer, my friend, it is